I mean, I do really, really work hard to avoid people who don't believe that structural racism exists. Really hard. In terms of like, I'm in the UK, I'm often approached, well, I was until I changed all my contact details. But I was often approached by like television and news producers who thought that because I'd written this book, I now wanted to be like a public talking head to go on and argue with like people from the far right on TV and yell and scream. And I was like, no, I don't think I want to do that. I'll pass. Like, I enjoy writing. That's the bit that I want to do. So I really try hard to avoid that. And, you know, the second line of that original blog post is not all white people, just the vast majority who refuse to accept the legitimacy of structural racism and its symptoms. I know that off by heart at this point. Meaning that I'm interested in talking to people who are open and curious, but the hostility and the defensiveness, I work hard to avoid. Like, and sometimes, because of the book that I've written, people see me as a beacon, as somebody who can come over, they can come over to and start having that conversation. I just make my excuses and leave. I do. There was one time at an award ceremony where a young woman who I had the unfortunate luck of speaking to simply because of an acquaintance who had a feminist podcast. This woman was a listener, and then suddenly she left, and I was left with this person, and she was like, starting to interrogate me, and I was like, her interrogation started with, well, there's a black girl at my work. And at that point, I knew that her workplace couldn't have been diverse if there was the black girl.
Right, so you already peeped it.
And she said, yeah, this black girl at my work, like, she really offended me by saying that she's worked harder than the rest of us to be at that workplace. And I just think that's not fair. She's wrong. And I said, statistically, she's right. Statistically, she's right. And then I just gathered my things. I said, well, it was nice to chat, and I left. Because I just left it at that. So I tried really hard. Like, I meant what I wrote in that blog post in terms of, like, I cannot have that conversation anymore. And when people try to drag me into it, I'm just like, well, good to talk to you. And I just bounce. So
Exactly.
I recognize, though, for my readers that it can be difficult, and I encourage them to draw that same boundary. I do.
Yes.